So, multiply powerlifting. We did the thing. This weekend was my first multiply powerlifting meet, held at 2XL Powerlifting in Chicago area, Lombard, Illinois. If you've been following the podcast, if you've been following any of the material that we've been kind of putting out in our social media, or you've followed us on Instagram or whatever, you've seen me adorning my beautiful orange pumpkin suit and my squat suit and jumping into geared powerlifting. I figured the background on that and the decision making behind that was, if I was going to be a part of Elite FTS, I needed to get to the root of one of the biggest factors that led Elite FTS to where it is today. Multiply powerlifting was that factor. Dave was a very good competitor in multiply powerlifting. He's coached a lot of great people in multiply powerlifting. So in order for me to really get an understanding of what the hell that's all about and the history of the company, I wanted to throw myself to the wolves. I wanted to put all of my training in the hands of Dave and the rest of the crew here at Elite FTS and commit to the process. My training partner, Adam, he has been a competitor a high-level competitor in multiply powerlifting for 10 years. He has elite totals. He's got records, this, that, and the other thing. And he's one of the smallest human beings that I've seen squat 800 pounds. So instead of jumping on the bandwagon that most raw lifters have towards multiply powerlifting, saying it's cheating or saying that it's all this bullshit, the only thing I wanted to do was get a better understanding. So several months ago, I started training. Several months ago, I jumped into gear. But that process was not a straightforward process, because unlike the perception that the internet has on multiply powerlifting, you can't just jump right into gear and be good at it. You can't just jump right into gear and lift efficiently or lift with the form and technique that you need, right? My body needed to go through a process where I learned how to lift like a multiply powerlifter. Wider stance, hips shooting back on the squat. It's a different style. It's a different everything. You can't possibly compare it to raw. You can't, whatever. So regardless of all of that, step one of my training plan was to get used to that new style of squat, get used to that new style of pull, get used to that new style of bench. I needed to relearn the basics. I needed to put myself in a position where, I mean, from my own perspective, I've been training and competing in strongman for years and years and years. And I needed to relearn this skill. I needed to relearn how to lift and learn how to train in this fashion in order for me to get the most out of the gear, but to also do it safely. If I was going to be at Elite FTS, I need to get the most information possible on what Elite FTS was founded on, how it was founded, what it stands for, and multiply powerlifting has always been a massive part of what Elite FTS is and has done for years and years and years. And as multiply powerlifting has gone a little bit to the wayside in terms of popularity, and raw lifting has taken a larger front seat on that, I thought it was important for me, in the position that I am, to connect the new lifter with the older lifter, or the more seasoned lifter, and the history in the past, and the things that happened in strength sports, and the things that people do in strength sports in different avenues, and kind of expose these things to newer people who may not have followed Elite FTS in the past. They may have been a new follower. They may have jumped on a newer video or seen our Instagram or whatever, and they don't realize the level of history, the depth of history there is with this style of training. And it's important for our audience to see that. No, I'm not going to be a multiply powerlifter for the rest of my life. I'm a strongman competitor at heart, but it is cool to participate in something that you're so new at, that you have none of the skills necessary, but you were willing to learn. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to showcase to you guys. And that's why this meet was so cool to be a part of, right? This whole training process was so cool to be a part of because it's so new. I didn't have any skin in the game. I was as new as you are watching this video to this style of training. And man, it was real fucking cool. It was cool to be able to experience these things from Dave specifically in this facility, which has had some of the strongest human beings on the planet here train, and to be a part of that history. The main purpose of this video is to showcase to you and to go through my lifts, to go through my experience at my first multiply powerlifting meet, and to showcase to you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the realistic nature that competing can do for you, and the realistic expectations that you should have for yourself as a recreational lifter who may not have had the experience of competing yet. But this is an all-access pass to what it was like for me to lift in my first multiply powerlifting meet. We started warming up, and if you've never competed in powerlifting, it's kind of it's a balancing act, because what you want to do is you want to warm up efficiently. You don't want to warm up too fast, and you don't want to warm up too slow, because with the added layer of gear, right, you slowly build up your gear as you get closer and closer to your opener. But you don't want to do it too fast, because then you get cold. And you don't want to do it too slow, because then you're rushed and then your gear won't fit right. So this is my first meet. I'm kind of just winging it. I'm following Adam's lead. I'm following Julie's lead. I'm kind of following the other competitors, just seeing how they're flowing. Because I would always warm up out here and I was kind of doing my own thing. But to actually to be on a time crunch, it was very interesting to see. So Adam goes, first flight goes, I'm up. I get some insight and some intel from the rest of the competitors as well as my team that the squat judges are very, very, very strict. They are not letting anything go by, and people are literally bombing out of their squats because they are calling depth at a level that most multiply powerlifters are not used to. That's okay. That's fine. I've played team sports my entire life. I've had referees, I've had umpires, and it's like you need to play the game at your level, but at the same time, that factor of the referees or the judges dictating what they find acceptable, you need to match your game to that, because on that game day, that's the most important thing, because that's the level of play you need to match and you need to meet in order to progress and find success on that particular day. Now, I'm not going to say that the judging was crazy strict one way or the other, or they were consistent. They were consistent with what they were calling for the most part. Nobody's perfect. I'm never going to blame a judge based on their ability to dictate how I find my success, right? So my first opener, and what I'll do is I'll pop it up on my phone so I can watch this real time. And Jacob, editing note here, I am watching my 600 squat. You'll be posting up here. Now, this 600-pound squat is something that I've done in training several times before, right? So with that in mind, the goal with an opener is to make sure you smoke it. Dave told us, make it your last warm-up, absolutely drain it, and go from there, right? So the goal was hit 600 pounds, 600.8 or whatever that is, absolutely bury it, and get moving on to my second attempt. Well, with this newfangled requirement for, I'm going to call it excessive depth, my 600-pound squat felt like about 700 pounds. 800 pounds, felt like 1,000 pounds, because the length of time that I had to have that weight on my back was much longer than what I was used to. So if you watch in the video, you'll see, and it's not the best angle on this first video, but it's watchable. What you'll see here is I take forever to hit depth. I bring that down so slow, which is something that I found myself doing when I wasn't sure of the weight. I was making the lift last longer instead of trusting the process, trusting the suit, trusting my, the practice that I've had, trusting the technique, and you can show, it shows here. This is all mental. This first lift is 100% mental, because I am in my own head. I'm worried about hitting depth. I'm worried about all this stuff. I'm worried that the bar feels heavy, and I'm not focusing on completing the task at hand, and that's a total rookie move when it comes to powerlifting meets or competition in general. And I'm 100% guilty. I was watching all these really, really strong people missing these lifts with depth, and I was confused because based on what they were saying in the rules meeting, they were hitting necessary depth, but they wanted more. So I was like, okay, well, now I got to bury this thing. Now I got to get out of my own training plan, get out of my own way to be able to make sure that I hit the necessary depth. So hit the lift, unrack it, stand up strong with it, feels pretty good. Start going down. I keep hearing back, 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 back. Typical multiply powerlifting meet, right? But those cues mean something to me because I'm trusting my spotter. I'm trusting my teammates to let me know where depth is. So I go knees out and I'm pushing back, pushing back. And now I'm reaching the point where this is going longer than I've ever had it before. So then my teammates say up, and you see me, I start to, it doesn't move that well. It moves slow because now I'm really not focused in on the technique. I'm just worried about getting the fuck out of that bottom position of that squat and making it. So I stand up with it, rack it, turn around, three white lights, cool, we're in the meet, right? We got a number. Second attempt, that first one took me so long to do that I was starting to feel like even a little bit drained. I was like, that moved like shit. So now I'm starting to kind of second guess things, right? So I believe my next attempt was in the 620s, I believe. I don't really remember. I truly do not remember what was on the bar here for the second one. And what you'll notice here is it's the same pattern, right? I'm doing a technique that I don't normally do. I'm going back super, super slow, crazy slow, and slower than normal, and I'm worried about depth. I'm in my own head again. And if you watch in this video, I miss it. I can't even stand up with it. It's not much heavier than my first attempt, and I am stapled. That's the worst feeling in the world. Just absolutely getting stapled by weight. You're like, this doesn't make any sense. What's going on? It sucks, man. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be a dogfight of a meet if I don't get my head out of my ass. All right, so come back in, talk to my team. They were telling me critiques. I was talking to Adam about it. They were saying I wasn't getting my chest up. I wasn't getting that bar in a good position. My elbows weren't getting under that bar. I was flaring up. I was too much in my own head and reverting back to old patterns. And that's what happens when shit hits the fan. You revert back to old patterns, and that's exactly what I did. So, got my head out of my ass, remembered that I knew what the fuck I was doing, and I managed to, well, we put 644 on the bar, I believe what it was, and it was like, all right, dude, let's just fucking do this. Let's just get this. You got this. You absolutely have this. Adam was calling all my numbers. He did a great job. So if you notice, I take a second. I don't rush it. My first two I was rushing. I was worried. I heard I had a 1 minute time allotted to complete the lift, and I got into my own head and I rushed myself. This last one, I managed to get myself in that much better position. Elbows locked under the bar way down low on my back, so it was nice and stable, locked right in, stood up with the weight, pushed those hips back. I went a little bit faster with the descent, and it looks like I absolutely bury it. You watch my hip crease, it goes just under my knees. I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, and I grind that motherfucker out for what I thought was one of the better reps that I could have had. It was a perfect number. Everything was perfect. You can actually hear me in the video laughing. I laugh because I think, oh, that was the best squat I could have possibly done. Turn around, look up, 2 red lights. What the fuck? Again, I wasn't going to say I was going to complain or bitch or anything like that. I was just shocked that I didn't get that, but there's nothing I can do. To be honest with you, I was pumped because I had just squatted 644 and I did it. I did the thing. Whether it was their standard or not, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Everybody else thought I got it. Cool. Doesn't matter. I was so excited and so happy to have come back from getting my ass kicked on my second attempt to what I thought is I did a solid fight on my third attempt to come back. Didn't get the lift, whatever. So for squats, I only got my opener at 600 pounds officially. But at this point, I'm not feeling all that bad because I know what I have in the tank for the next time I compete. So after squats, we rip off the monkey suit, and now we start warming up for bench. Bench is something that's always been kind of tricky for me. There were days where it was really good, and there were days that were really bad. To put it into perspective, the most I did out here was like 435, about a week or so out from the meet, or a week and a half or so. I forgot the timeline there. And that felt easy. It felt very, very easy. And it was something that if I get the technique right, I could potentially get 450. I could potentially get a little bit more. So keep that in mind. Put little quotations there. I could potentially get more. So what I do, normally just warm up for bench. I work up to about 315, 325 raw, and then I throw my shirt on for about 365, hit that for a single, or 375, hit that for a single. I was going to open up at 400 pounds, or 402. Hop out, and I roll into the first attempt. And I'm not, again, I'm nervous. I am uncertain, because this is the first time I've had to put my teammates have helped me with my shirt before, but this is the first time that I had to be in control of how it felt, right? So shirt goes on, whatever. It feels like, doesn't feel great. Again, rookie mistake. I should have taken a little extra time, really seated it where it needed to be. I go out, 402 on the bar. I take it out. Feels okay. I bring it down, good touch, and then I come up, misgroove it. It comes down a little bit, and then I lock it out. If you are aware, going up and down on your bench equates to a missed lift. So not only did I screw it up on the first rep, I also made the lift last longer and, again, wasted energy, as I was talking about on the squat. So that sucks. So now it's do or die time, because if I miss this second lift, then I'm out of the meet, right? So now I'm just absolutely shitting my pants. Now I'm getting really, really nervous, because the bench has always been something during this whole training that was very, very hit or miss. It was either going really, really well or it was going really, really bad. So what I tried to do is I tried to really focus in and lock that in and be like, okay, what have you done in the past that made it feel good? And I remembered talking to Todd and Dave about the positioning of the shirt, what I needed to do, and luckily enough for me, my teammates were reminding me of the cues that I had forgotten in the first one, right? They were critiquing what I did in the first one. They said, you do these things, you have this weight. And if you watch in this second video here, I come out, I take a second, I really allow myself to get into a much better position with that bench, elbows out, bring it down, touch, press, bang. Smoked it. Absolutely smoked it. You can see in the video, absolutely smoked it. I get pumped because at the end of the day, I'm still in the meet. We're still playing the game. So that went well. Now my confidence is going up again. So what we decided, I think we jumped to like 420 something, 425, 435, something in that range. Again, I have no idea. It's in kilos. At the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. So I come out thinking I'm going to do the exact same thing, and I come out, get in that same position, and I'm like, ugh, this doesn't feel great. This sucks. But let's do it. Let's do everything the same. Come down, touch, everything's going well, and I go to push up, misgroove it. Little technical snafu, and that bar wings towards my face. Spotters grab it, save my life, save my pretty face. No lift. That happens. So that was 100% my fault. That was 100% user error of the equipment. I misgrooved it. I didn't hold it in the position it needed to be in order to ride that shirt and pop that thing right up. I'm a new guy. I'm a rookie. I make mistakes. My bench press that day was a mistake. And that's okay. So 402. So we only got our opener on our squats, only got our opener on our bench, but that's okay. Live and learn. At this point, I am just glad to be in the meet. I just want to piece together a decent total at this point. I'm not going to hit the numbers I was supposed to hit, and that's totally fine. The last event is the deadlift, and history has shown that the deadlift was an easier lift for me to learn because it just makes more sense. It just made more sense to me in my head, and with the practice that I've had, it's been able to progress at a faster rate than the other things. So my initial opener was 591. Judging how I felt, I had to drop that opener. I did not feel good enough to hit that confidently as my opener, because if you've ever competed, by the time you get to the deadlift, you are tired, you are fatigued, and most of the time people do not hit the numbers that they think they're going to hit, just based on your body's fried. So with that in mind, dropped that deadlift down, and I popped on my fancy pumpkin suit, which again doesn't fit, which is fine. I have my briefs underneath, I have my pumpkin suit on, and it's time to go. So first attempt, come walking out. Deadlifts are feeling very, very, very good. So I'm like, okay, I just need to get this one. But regardless of how good things feel, mentally in my head, I was thinking, just don't fuck up, because you can't fuck up too many times before you just bomb out of the meet, right? So step one, get that first lift. So you can at least have a total. It may not be the total you wanted, but you need a total. You've worked too hard for this shit. Just do it. So I lock in, I walk out, 551, get my sumo stance, reach down, grab the bar, tight, cinch myself underneath that bar, pop that thing up. Moves amazingly well. Now I'm like, cool, we're in the meet. This is the worst it could possibly be, is just this one pull. And what you'll see is as you've seen from the squat and you've seen from the bench, technique is everything. Remembering that technique when your brain is spinning a mile a minute is the biggest factor between people who get the lift and the people who don't, right? You see people miss a weight and it looks like it crushes them, but then they fix that technique a little bit, and all of a sudden that weight moves super fast. So that's the thing about multiply powerlifting that really blows my mind, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for it, because you can always be in it, right? If the numbers are within your range and you feel like you got stapled on one, make sure your technique is there, because I can promise you, you'll more than likely get that if you lock that technique in. And that's what's happening with the deadlift. I move on to my second attempt, which is 600.8. I don't know how many kilos that is. And same thing, I lock everything in, get nice and tight, and I tweaked a little bit of my suit. I made it a little bit tighter. Again, you see it in the video. It's humongous. It looks like I'm the Michelin Man, but like the October Halloween edition, right? So go out, 600 pounds on the bar. Never obviously pulled that in a competition before. Reach down, wedge in, tight, tight, tight. Boom, snap that thing right up. Moved better than my 550. So now, man, this is exciting stuff. This is why we like to compete. This is why we like to push ourselves to the limit a little bit, because you see what you're capable of. If you asked me an hour or two before deadlifts what I would be pulling easily, and if you said 600 pounds, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, I better kind of grind that out, because that's what I did in training. Like, I hit 600 pounds fairly easily, but never really anything harder than that. I did 630 with some reverse bands there the last a week or two before the meet, and it felt really, really good. But again, I'd never done it where it mattered on the platform. So with that in mind, I told Adam, and you can, I don't think you see it in the video, but as I'm walking off the platform, I'm popping my straps off, and I look at Adam, my training partner, I go, look, man, let's YOLO this last one. You picked a number, I don't give a shit what it is. You go pick it, I'm gonna go rest. So he goes, picks a number, I have no idea what it is. Waiting, I'm up again. And I look at him, I go, Adam, tell me the truth. Am I going to need to lock this thing in? Is this the hardest pull of my life? He goes, probably. I go, all right, cool. I'm leaving. Now the goal is leave everything you can on this last rep. Leave every single part of your effort and your power that you have left in the tank. You use it on this last rep. So I get up there and you hear my teammates yelling, use it all, don't leave anything left, right? Like, this is the last rep of the day. This is the last rep of the entire last 4 or so months. It all comes down to this last rep. I have no idea what's on the bar. It's all colored reds and blues and yellow. I have no idea what any of these plates mean. So I walk up to this thing, I give myself an extra second. You see me look up to the ceiling, I breathe, lock in, and I'm like, I'm gonna pull this fucking thing so hard. Lock it in, stand up with it, slows down just a little bit, but I get it. And it turns out, this is the thing that pisses me off the most, it was 639 pounds. He couldn't even give me 640. He had to go down. So that was my last pull, 639 pounds. And that concluded my powerlifting meet. Ended up getting second place in my class, which is very, very cool. But my total was 1641 in the 220 pound weight class for my first ever multiply powerlifting meet. Again, did not go as planned, but man, I don't think it ever really does. There's so many variables and so many factors. I am just glad that I had the opportunity to participate in this. I had the opportunity to throw my hat in the ring and compete and to represent Elite FTS and represent all of the amazing things and coaches and athletes and everybody that's ever been a part of this organization in a competition. That was the coolest part for me. So guys, as always, thank you very much for following along. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, do all the things. On behalf of myself, Jacob, and the rest of the crew here at Elite FTS, we want to thank you for watching. Make sure you keep lifting, make sure you keep doing all the things, and we will see you in the next one. Now, how the fuck do I turn this off?